I'm Georgiana.
And I'm Cristo.
Come to Paris with us.
We just arrived and are just now leaving the airport to go to our hotel, which is gonna take us a lot longer because the Olympics.
So a lot of main roads are closed because of the Olympics, so we are about 20 miles away from the airport, but it's taking us almost an hour to get to our hotel. So
Wish us luck. Alright, we officially made it to the Louvre. Georgiana thinks this thing is massive. I honestly probably didn't do my research enough, but look at the uniformity of this building. It is so gorgeous. The architecture here in Paris is taking me away. I love the uniformity. Like, look at some of the shopping center malls. Oh, it's so beautiful. Look how peaceful and quiet it is. I think that's maybe not normal for Paris, but it's during the Olympics, and to have this much peace and quiet, it's awesome.
So one of the things on our bucket list for Paris was to go to the Louvre Art Museum. It is one of the most well-known art museums in the world, so we definitely had to go. We'll talk about the price of the ticket and everything at the end of the video, but this museum was amazing. It was home to 35,000 different art pieces and 500,000 different historical objects like sculptures and things like that. If you are in Paris, definitely buy a ticket to go to this museum. You don't want to miss out. One thing that I regretted was actually going to see the Mona Lisa itself because it was so small. And also the room that they crammed us in was very tiny. So it was a little overwhelming, and I shared a clip of that too. So be sure to watch that. This is the famous Venus de Milo. It was so special to Chris and I to see this because it was actually found in our favorite travel destination of Milos, Greece. It's believed to be a version of Aphrodite in Milos. Although it's still a mystery to us as its creator hasn't been discovered or the exact age hasn't been established, some say it was created around 100 BC and considered the gold standard for all Greek statues. And of course, you can't go to the Louvre without seeing the one and only Mona Lisa. I was very let down to see how small the Mona Lisa was. Also, the wait was very overwhelming. This room made me extremely claustrophobic. I ended up getting a closer picture, but I just wanted to portray how I had to wait in this mess.
On the contrary, if you're like me and really do appreciate art, it was surreal to see such a fantastic painting along with many other of Da Vinci's works in person.
This here was my favorite painting, titled The Wedding Feast at Cana. This was on the wall across from the Mona Lisa, and it is the largest painting in the Louvre Museum. It depicts an extraordinary banquet with a crowd of maybe 100 different characters with so many different colors and lightings. This painting is amazing. After the Louvre, we went back to our hotel, freshened up, and went out for dinner at La Escargot. It was recommended to us by our hotel. They had delicious French onion soup and snails. Highly recommend. After dinner, we decided to go for a walk and bumped into the Notre Dame. Look at the most amazing Gothic architecture I've ever seen. So one thing about this picture is you can see a lot of construction happening to the Notre Dame because of the fire that happened in 2019. So just something to expect when you're traveling to Paris. It is still under construction. You can't go to Paris without seeing the Eiffel Tower, which was meant to be a temporary structure for the World's Fair in Paris to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, and now it is the main attraction for Paris. The tower stands at 1,000 feet tall and took 50 painters to paint it by hand just for the Olympics. It sparkles every first 5 minutes of the hour. I was so sad to see there is no longer locks on the Pont des Arts, which is the Love Lock Bridge. Due to the structural integrity of the bridge, it has collapsed multiple times because of the locks weighing it down. So Paris finally said, no more.
So like periodically, like probably once, I don't know how fast people would put locks, but every couple of weeks they would just break everything, throw all the locks away and put new things. Yeah.
Not anymore though, sadly.
Yeah, but
All right, we put together a few pros and cons to discuss with you guys on some things we would change for a future trip or recommend, as well as some things we really enjoyed. So kicking off the pros.
So for the pros, we said that because of the Olympics happening, it was very safe. Like the environment was very safe. There was security everywhere we went. We also said it was very clean.
Yeah, I've only heard a lot of negative things about Paris, and with the Olympics going on, it was quite eat off the street, like how clean it was.
They really cleaned up that city.
It was
from
impressive.
What I've heard, yeah.
It was very impressive. Yeah. And then on the cons list, of course, 24 hours in probably any city is very difficult to do. And granted, we're very fortunate, we're very mobile and healthy that we were able to do so much in so little time. But I would definitely recommend going for an extended period of time, more than 24 hours, and more on the long lines. Probably 3 days would have been real solid. And then one other con, I think, for our trip and experience was during the Olympics, I feel like it was inflated the prices just a little bit. As you've seen, like the $200 price tag on the hotel room. I just feel like it could have been a lot cheaper had we gone at a different time period, but we wouldn't have got the benefits of being super clean.
That's true.
Let's talk about the finance side behind our trip to France. Now, we did say only spend 24 hours here in France. Well, roughly so. So, taking us through our full expenses for the entire trip, we spent $500 or just about exactly for our direct flight from Chicago to France. Now, I'm not going to encompass this in the total price, and I'm going to show it with and without because we needed a flight to Europe anyways, and it's kind of not fair considering it's only 24 hours, and it was just a part of our entire trip. So for the two of us, that would have been $1,000 for our Europe trip for getting one way, and then we would return on different flights later in today's video. Now, let's actually take a look at the actual costs of spending this 24 hours and where we decided to allocate our money, because truthfully, we did spend a lot of money, but for 24 hours and having that full tourist experience, I think we did a pretty well diversified job. Now, we did grab a meal when we were leaving for that 8.5-hour flight. That was a $35 meal at Chili's in Chicago. So moving forward, we spent $196 at the one-night stay in Paris. Now, I will say this, it was a great place. We stayed at a fantastic hotel. We got there super early, so we were able to drop off our bags, the full 9 yards, right? And don't get me wrong, that is, I would argue, very expensive, especially on a budgeted trip. But for what we were accomplishing, and of course during the Olympics, I'm pretty well satisfied for that price point. Now, I will say there was a hotel tax as well, a state tax that also was charged when we were leaving. It was $11.40. So all in, just around $200 and probably $10 or so. We also, as you've seen in the video, went to the Louvre. For the two of us, Georgiana and me, we spent $56 on the 2 Louvre tickets and is very well satisfied because that trip was absolutely well worth it. One thing here we spent $61 was our taxi leaving when we first arrived from the airport to our hotel. Now, don't get me wrong, coming off a long flight, we kind of rushed into things. We didn't plan ahead. We didn't go to the metro or get a bus or anything like that. We simply just followed the crowd, grabbed a taxi, and we're well on our way. This cost could have been significantly reduced had we just, done a little bit due diligence, like our return to the airport, which you'll see in just a minute. You could have got this $61 down until around $20 for the metro from where we were staying in the heart of Paris all the way to the airport at a very convenient time span because those trains are running basically nonstop. So that is a cost that could be significantly reduced, but that's $61. For the convenience factor, I think is well justified after a long flight and just wanting to get to our hotel and on with our days. And of course, we had that Louvre ticket very quickly after arriving, so do keep that in mind. The next thing I have is $4.60 for a snack. This consisted of a nice croissant just outside of the Louvre. Very cheap, $4 for just a quick bite to eat that Georgie and I split. It was really good. It was like goat cheese. It was phenomenal. Moving forward, we had the boutique Lotte food. This was just another small meal that me and Georgiana kind of split.
Correction, those were the overpriced but amazing macaroons I tried to hide from Chris. Very worth it if you're in Paris.
I've already talked about the hotel tax, and then we went for an extremely nice dinner that it featured a very famous restaurant, which was Escargot. 10 out of 10 restaurant. The snails were phenomenal. We tried 3 different variations. We had the truffle butter ones. We had like the parsley normal ones. And then we had a foie gras one, which was not my favorite. I really like the truffle and then the parsley, just normal ones. But regardless, we had that plus the French onion soup, and that amounted to $55 for a very elegant fine dinner. Moving forward, we had quite a few different metro bills to pay. We kind of went all over, and I think this is a very cheap route for just the convenience factor of 24 hours instead of buying like a whole entire pass. The Metro Plus, we had a mess up. We got on the wrong train, and that costed about $13 from our lack of due diligence. With that being said, to go to the Eiffel Tower, it only cost about $8.75. Using, of course, a foreign transaction fee credit card was the best way of traveling instead of carrying around all this cash. But I did have cash on hand. I just simply used the credit card with no transaction fees because it was super, super nice. I definitely recommend the Robinhood Gold card and the the Capital One Saver One. Two fantastic cards for 0 transaction fees. But moving forward, we spent about $9 for the two of us to go on the Eiffel Tower, and then about $9 to get back. And 10 out of 10, recommend for $9. This is nothing in comparison to what we have accomplished on that trip. Moving forward, after that very nice trip to the Eiffel Tower, I went and got myself a kebab sandwich. This was $11.81 for a nice late night snack. Along with that, we had this fantastic crepe, one of the best ones I've had in Europe in a very long time. That was $6.45. So for those two things, a late night meal basically, for its $18. I think that's a very exceptional well price point for getting fresh food made in front of you. Phenomenal crepe, phenomenal kebab sandwich. Was really, really good. Like I mentioned earlier in today's video, we had the mess up of the taxi going to the hotel. You could see that the price from the hotel going to on a metro line all the way to the airport cost $25. So less than half the price if we just done a little bit more due diligence. And then on top of that, I'm going to include this one right here, the $82, which is a high price point. You're probably thinking, what is this? It's Georgiana's mess up on her extra bag / kilo. Air France was extremely rude in the sense of their flight carry-ons and whatnot, and extremely particular on their weight. This is something I'll never understand, right? Like, say, and you can get mad at me for all you want for this, but like, say I weigh 170 pounds, right? And customer X weighs 200 pounds, right? How is it fair that you can, talk about weights of bags when like customer X weighs 30 pounds, 25 kilos more than I do, but they don't get charged extra? It's something that just bothers me. Anyways, going off on a tangent there. This mess up on the bag was for having about 1 kilo over on Georgiana's bag. About 2 kilos. So very frustrating. $82 down the drain for a couple of pounds, or a few pounds, a couple pounds, a few kilos over in a bag. I would recommend really doing your due diligence and know your limits on your weights for your carry-ons. We don't have any big suitcases. We just have the travel ones. I brought a backpack. Georgiana brought a travel size suitcase, and I think that was part of the diminishing line here, that it weighed too much as a suitcase. A backpack would have been far more useful. And then on top of that, at the airport, I had a croissant. I think me and Georgiana had like coffee and a croissant. Yeah, there it is. Coffee and a croissant, $10 for the two, $11 for the two of us. So that brings our France total to a whopping $1,608 for 24 hours in France. And that does not include our flight leaving France to go to Italy into Milan. However, I think that's well justified to say, if you're already in France, take away the flights. Georgiana and I spent doing a lot of touristy things, $608. And that included a lot of mess ups, a lot of things learned, but some of the best lessons are the ones that you pay for. So $608.53 is our absolute total without flights for our trip of 24 hours into France. There's a lot of things that you could probably take away from this that, maybe is better well spent money on, or, things that you want to take from this list and say, like, the Louvre tickets make sense. I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab some food. Take away what you will. I hope that is helpful, and I hope
you guys enjoyed our Paris trip.
And we will be uploading, hopefully, our Italy, which was Milan, Rome, and Lake Como vlogs coming very soon, as well as our excursion throughout Greece, which was a lot cheaper because we did stay with family. And then, of course, we'll be kicking off the next excursion to Asia. So stay tuned for more videos. Thanks so much for watching. Love you guys. Hope to see you in a future video. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.